Welcome to the Pop Docs Podcast. My name is Joseph. I am a doctor in degree only.
And I'm Deni, and I'm a doctor in name only, and we're diagnosing the state of pop culture.
We are the Pop Docs, and our clinic is now open. Welcome, dear listeners, to episode 5 of the Pop Docs Podcast. My name is Joseph. I am one half of the Pop Docs, joined, as always, by the other half of the Pop Docs, my sister, Deni. Deni, how are you doing today?
Heidi-ho, everyone. I am doing pretty fantastic. I'm about to go on vacation, so I'm very excited.
And where are you going on vacation? Because it has certain relevance for our podcast, undoubtedly.
Sure does. The time has finally come. I am going to San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con. It is that time of year. And
despite Hollywood's best efforts, the con is going forward.
The con continues. The con must go on. It kind of rhymes.
There you go. That. And we're certainly going to have a podcast episode when you return, so you can give us the lowdown on how this con was. I'm assuming it's going to be more of a traditional con where there's no actors, no writers, no showrunners probably. Now, I've seen all these panels getting canceled left and right as it relates to all these different TV shows and movies. So it'll be interesting to hear your experiences and your perspective, and maybe I can still convince you. I'm trying to convince you to give us some on-the-ground reporting for our YouTube channel from San Diego. But I know you're still resistant to that.
Yeah, that probably won't be happening because I just want to be on vacation for like a week. But
it's not work. We're not getting paid for this.
Well, that's true. That's true. But also, I'll probably be exhausted every single day because it's a lot of walking, a lot of being outside in the sun, which San Diego can heat up during the day during summer. So, but it'll be interesting to see how it is. There's a lot of people on the Twitterverse, that are saying that this will, take the con back to like how it was before all the celebrities and stuff started to go. And so it's very much going kind of back in time to, but the problem that I'm like foreseeing is that because we don't have like the Hall H's where everyone's going to be going or the other big panels that draw the crowds, you're going to see probably an influx of crowds everywhere else. So the exhibitor hall is probably going to be jam-packed with people. All the outdoor stuff's probably going to be super long. So I'm just anticipating a lot of more crowds to have to navigate.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I have no sense of how it's going. I mean, presumably if you've got tickets or you bought your badges, you're going. Or you booked hotels and airfare, like you're not going to not go. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I'm excited really to see the Yellow Jackets activation you were telling me about. And that you apparently are going to go to, even though you have no idea what it's really about.
Well, it's that one in particular is a Paramount Plus The Lodge activation. So it's going to be like a collection of their shows with different activities and stuff that you can do within it. So it should be really fun.
I didn't even know it was a Paramount product. I think it's on Showtime normally, but I guess Paramount owns Showtime. I don't know anymore.
That's my assumption.
I can't keep track anymore of who the parent companies are for all these different channels and studios. Anyway, we are like way off topic. We need to reserve that for the episode following your triumphant return from San Diego. But before that, in advance of that, what are we talking about today, Deni? What's our theme?
Our theme is going to be The Witcher. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. The Witcher.
Fan of The Witcher in the past. First season in particular was really great. Second season was okay. But this third season was going to be very interesting because obviously it's the last season with Henry Cavill as Geralt. And also coming off of season 2, which was kind of funky in its storyline and not really sure where it was going to go. Season 3. And then also on top of that, Netflix decides to split it in half like it's been doing with a bunch of its shows. And so the question was, how successful would that be for a show like The Witcher? And so we got lots of good stuff to talk about. And we both watched it. We both actually just finished watching it. So it's fresh in our minds as the second part comes out on July 27th. So we'll go into that.
Deni finished a TV show within a month of its release. Yeah.
That's not Bridgerton.
What'd you think of Andor? Oh, God.
Yes, I'm still trekking through Andor too. Yeah. So yeah, it takes me a while to do things, people. That's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. So as Deni referenced, we're going to be talking not all things Witcher. We're really going to focus our discussion in this episode on season 3 and go through each of the 5 episodes we have access to for now, and probably give a little bit of our take on the first 2 seasons, set it up. Although Deni already started talking about hers, so we're off and running. But before we get to all the Witcher goodness, we do have some stuff we found on the internet that I wanted to bring up and get your take on. And then we'll obviously conclude the episode by talking about the books we're currently reading, which for you, we know is The Shadow Rising from the Wheel of Time series. So we'll check in on you and your progress. And then you can do your indie bookstore shout out before we close out the episode. So I think we got a lot of fun things to talk about. Let me start with the bleep we found on the internet. And let me share my screen. This is probably not going to be a surprise to you, certainly, or to our dear listeners, but I want to talk Wheel of Time.
Of course.
We're going to get a trailer at Comic-Con. There was a lot of allusions, a lot of hints from particularly the Wheel of Time Twitter account of an upcoming trailer. Now that panel's been canceled, I still think we're going to get the trailer because we're just so close now to the actual release date. But they gave us on the Twitter account the first poster for the Wheel of Time. Hopefully you can see it. I've tried to share my screen. For those listening, the poster, if you haven't seen it, it's on the Wheel of Time Twitter account, probably elsewhere too. I'm sure it's on Amazon Prime as well. I haven't actually looked though, so I can't verify that. But in essence, who is it? Moraine. Good Lord, can't remember her name. Rosamund Pike as Moraine is in the center. She's the largest figure, and then kind of fanned out around Moraine are Lan, Nynaeve, Egwene on the left-hand side if you're looking at the poster, Rand, Perrin, and Matt on the right-hand side if you're looking at the poster, and then the 2 bottom corners, there seems to be some kind of battle going on. And interspersed throughout it is the One Power being channeled. And we have colored One Power channels, colored weaves, an orange and a blue in this particular poster. What are your thoughts? Have you seen this before? I brought it up.
I have. Yeah. I saw it when it went live, and I mean, initially just super excited because it's another piece of content. So yay! I also think it's exciting because I mean, the most exciting part to me is honestly kind of just the battle scene below, because I think that kind of shows that there's going to be action, which I'm really excited about. And I do think the showing of the One Power in the different colors, especially with Rand, obviously, is very interesting to show the juxtaposition there between the male and female sides of the power. So I'm really, really excited about it. I think it's cool, personally. It got me excited about it. I do think it is interesting that Moraine is still like the main focus, though. Because I know as the story progressed, she kind of becomes still prominent, but a little bit more, at least from where I am in The Shadow Rising, is she seems to become more of kind of like a side character to Rand. So it is I mean, I get it, Rosamund Pike, hello, amazing. But it's an interesting choice.
Well, I think that's ultimately why, because, the cast, she's the most famous actor, I think, in the cast. Yeah. And so you can't just sideline her, because especially book 2, she and Lan are nowhere to be found, pretty much.
Right.
She's in one chapter and then shows up at the end. Yeah. And she's in a good portion of the Dragon Reborn chasing Rand down. But then she essentially becomes, if recollection serves me well, an advisor essentially to Rand. Because it's ultimately not her story, at least in the books. Right. And certainly in the first season, they made it much more about her and Lan to a certain degree as well, much more so than the books. And I personally thought that was in part the detriment of the first season, because the Edmundsfield 5 didn't get a whole lot of screen time.
Right.
Until I think the last episode, where they were much more prominent, but by then we still didn't really know much about them. And of course we didn't have Matt because Myron Harris left. And so I completely agree with you. I mean, that was the big thing I took from the poster, was she's still at the forefront. She's the center. And I wonder if that means she's still going to be the central axis of the show. And if she is, I don't know how well that's going to work out. And I still think that the effectiveness of this season really is going to turn on what they do with her and Lan, because I think they're going to have to create original stories for them in large measure because they're so absent from Great Hunt and Dragon Reborn. And how that works out and how interesting and captivating that story is, I think, is really going to determine how good the season is, particularly because that's going to require focus being drawn away again from the Edmonds Field 5. And we're, of course, expanding the cast even further as these shows tend to do, and they have to in different ways. And so that's really what I'm really interested to see is how they're going to divide up the screen time among these different characters and these different plot lines.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's going to work out ultimately.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have hope.
Yeah. I mean, it can be really tricky juggling so many different branches of the story and different characters going through all the different things. It's a tricky balance, but it can be done, obviously. But, you know, it will be interesting to see how they do it, for sure.
Especially in roughly 8 hours, because I think they got eight episodes again. For roughly 2 books, apparently they're adapting Great Hunt and Dragon Reborn and mashing them together.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll get a trailer this week to get a little more context. To see what they're doing. Crossed. Yeah. And I mean, there's no reason they can't do it. They're not going to have the fanfare necessarily in person, at least, but certainly they can get a good pop on social media if they drop it and promote the crap out of it. There is apparently, I saw on Twitter of Time, which is where I go to get most of my unofficial information about Wheel of Time. And apparently there is a little bit of what looks like a hammer in the poster.
Ooh.
And so fans Twitter Time is saying, oh, this is an Easter egg that Perrin is going to finally take up the hammer. Really setting up the dichotomy between the axe and the hammer.
Yeah.
Which could be really cool. Again, that's the other thing. They really need to, I think, give him something to do other than mope about, look sullen, speak 2 words per sentence. I mean, yeah, his was just was probably the least interesting, least captivating storyline, I think, in the first season.
Yeah,
for whatever
definitely.
reason. Hopefully, it gets new threads, which is more than Matt can say. So he's already got that. He's already got that going for him.
Matt's going through a lot. Okay, he goes through a lot in these next 2 books. You know, he's poisoned by daggers and stuff like that, dealing with all that repercussions of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the big question. If he is still poisoned by the dagger or not, that'll be interesting.
Or just dealing with the after effects of it. You know, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that. I'm excited.
I'm sure in future episodes after they do drop the trailer, we're going to have to talk about the trailer. Maybe not for a full hour, but at least devote a little bit of time. But speaking of trailers, this is the other thing I wanted to ask you about. Did you see the Twisted Metal trailer?
Yes,
this
I was
going to
bring that up. That's the one thing I remembered. And I was like, oh, the full trailer for Twisted Metal dropped, which was, it was interesting. I don't know.
You have more than interesting to offer.
It's like a conflicting of the mind for me. Because the one thing that I really enjoyed, and you see snippets of it throughout the whole trailer, obviously, is all the different cars and characters, mostly the cars I got excited about. Like, you see all the different, characters, and that was exciting to me just because of nostalgia and playing the games, and it was exciting. But, I mean, I think, and you're probably going to say this, the thing I'm struggling with in the trailer is the humor with the action. The humor, I don't know if it's just the way the trailer's cut or something, but it's not hitting as well as I would like it to, because I can see in a world where it could work, but for some reason it just doesn't seem to be working as well. I'm
with you, and I at the outset said they need to be more kind of farcical about this, and that they need to lean into the absurdity of the world. But there's a difference between, I think, leaning into the absurdity of your premise and including humor that's silly, out of place. And so I love Anthony Mackie generally as an actor.
Oh yeah, he's a great actor.
I think he's really buying into this role, but his demeanor and a lot of the jokes just seem very juvenile. Like the whole thing about toilet paper. Maybe there was a whole setup for it that we didn't see in the trailer.
Yeah, that's what
I thought that I just kind of rolled my eyes and thought that was kind of dumb. And so I'm not. And then you have the contrast with some of the characters who seem very serious, like they're in a different show. I don't know what her name is. I don't know if they even said her name, but the person that he hooks up with on his quest, and they go on the quest together.
Right.
She looks at least from the trailer, as if she's in a different show altogether.
Mhm.
She seems to be without humor. And I don't know if it's going to work out. Certainly didn't really seem to work out in the trailer. Maybe it'll be a little better. I did like the kind of tag at the end where they're at the DMV.
Yeah,
that did seem to work. And so if it's more like that than the toilet paper scene, which sounds a lot worse than it actually is. But
that's why I was thinking maybe it's more of just like the edit of the trailer and you're not seeing like the full setup of the joke and then the follow through to the joke. And so, that's why maybe I thought the trailer just wasn't paying that off as well. Because I think what it did do well was kind of outline what the plot of the story was, which is where I was wondering where they were going to go with it. Because in the game, it's very much just like end of the world Calypso shows up and it's just like an apocalypse kind of thing. But they're actually trying to transport it's different pockets of civilization and stuff, and transporting is apparently the big thing, and that's how you see all the different characters, and it's very kind of got that vibe to it of like survival and in apocalypse still, but it's cool to see kind of the different civilizations through that. So yeah, I think that they did a good job of that with the trailer, but the humor just was kind of strange. But hopefully it turns out good. I still have hope that it will be.
Oh yeah, I think it's worth watching. I the way you describe it, it almost seems to me this is really more like late stage or late era Fast and Furious movies. The plot doesn't really matter. The plot is a vehicle, pun intended, to get cars to race each other, crash into each other, fly off dams, go to space, whatever. So, I mean, it sounds very much like, okay, just give him something to do so he has to leave San Francisco and get in a car that has machine guns on it.
Well, I don't know if you remember, like, it'll be interesting to see how they even do half these characters, because I don't know if you remember half their big weapons or like their hero weapons or whatever. Half of them are like insane.
Yeah.
Aren't even possible. And it's just so wild and out there. So it'll be interesting to see how far they take it in terms of that too.
Well, I don't even know how many actual characters they're going to have. Obviously they have Sweet Tooth is in it.
They have Sweet Tooth. They have Anthony, what's his
is Anthony Mackie actually a character from the game?
I thought so. I thought he was supposed to be like maybe.
I mean, Thomas Hayden Church, who I think is supposed to be the villain. That he's the cop, or it looks like a cop. He's dressed as a cop.
The cop.
He kind of made me think of Warhog, but Warhog I thought was a Humvee, and it was some kind of military person.
Yeah.
Was there a cop? There might have actually been a cop in the game. Now
there was a cop. Mm-hmm.
There was. So maybe he is a character.
It fluctuated throughout the game. So the cop was at first. There were like two cops, partners, but then one of them dies. So then it's just like the woman who becomes the cop. I don't know. It fluctuates. It's been a while since I've, but
it's been a long time since I played it too.
But like one of the cars they show is like the purple looking, I don't even know what kind of car it is, but it's the character Thumper, and it's like a purple.
Oh,
here, I'll show you.
See, I did not even pick up on that. Is it a sports car of some type?
No, I'll show you in a second. I don't know cars, so it wouldn't make sense.
I don't either.
I don't know cars. I'm not good with cars. This one.
But this is supposedly confirmed in the show. This is in the
they
trailer.
show a brief glimpse of Thumper. This purple pink car. It's kind of purpley pink.
Oh.
But they briefly show.
I don't even remember this car in the game, to be honest with you.
It is like the briefest glimpse, and it's like big weapon is like a ginormous flamethrower on the front. It's pretty cool.
I kind of remember that. I have some recollection of a flamethrower
that just like burns, but then you can catch on fire too. So they briefly showed that car as a character, and then they also showed Twister. I don't know, briefly. I think it's Twister. It's the chick who puts down the visor,
shield visor,
hat. Yeah, shield visor. I don't know if you remember. At least I think that's Twister, because
I don't even remember that character either.
See, I mean, my God, I must have played this way too much.
You play way more than me. You play way more than me, or you have a better memory. Because I remember when we first talked about this, my recollection is basically Warthog, Axel, Sweet Tooth. And Mr. Grimm. I remember Mr. Grimm.
Mr. Grimm.
Now they need to bring in Mr. Grimm. That would be sweet. And his little motorcycle with a sidecar.
Demon. He's an actual demon in the game.
He looks like a ghost or a ripoff of Ghost Rider. Is it Ghost Rider, I think? Yeah,
Ghost Rider, the skull with the flames. Yeah, exactly.
Popularized by Nick Cage.
It'll be so fun. I hope it's good. My heart just wants it to be good.
Hopefully. As we said, it's worth giving it a try at a minimum. I mean, the trailer at least made it seem interesting. Made me want to watch it. So I'll give it that, which I think is what the trailer is supposed to do, is get people to want to watch it.
That's true.
We'll definitely sit down and watch. We should do like a themed watch party like we did for Rings of Power and hope that this turns out better than that did.
We should.
We had our watch party. But
definitely.
That was we found on the internet, which clears the way for us to get into our main set of topics, which is The Witcher on Netflix, because I have not read the book series. I have not played the video games. Deni, I don't believe you have read any of the books or played the video games.
Have not, no. The most I've seen is Conan O'Brien play one of the games in Clueless Gamer once. And it happens to be one of the most hilarious episodes of Clueless Gamer.
And that was not about the plot of the game.
No, it was not. Not at all.
So that's our knowledge. So we have watched season 1, season 2. Deni, you said you like season 1 more than season 2. I would agree with that. In fact, for me, it took me a long time to get through season 2. I started and stopped multiple times.
That's
I
fair.
was really craving some kind of fantasy content a little while ago. And so I suffered through Witcher Blood Origin, and it was suffering. It was terrible. So with that, I think we had somewhat high hopes for season 3. I thought the trailers looked good for season 3, and I didn't think they couldn't get worse than Blood Origin, I don't think. And I'm happy to report it's not worse than Blood Origin. Having said that, that doesn't actually convey a whole lot, because that's a very, very low bar, as I'm trying to express. But we're going to talk through each episode briefly. So we're going to hear for half a day talking about this. I have handy dandy notes that I took, because otherwise I would not remember half of what happened in these episodes. So I am going to give my understanding of each of these episodes, and we'll stop at the end of each episode. And I will ask you, Deni, what you thought about that episode, and if there's anything important that I missed. Or if there's anything important that happened this season, you can let me know too, because I'm not so sure there was anything important that happened. Anyway. Without further ado, we'll jump into episode 1. Shara Wed. Some long name I can't pronounce. It refers to the place where they had the fight at the end of the episode. By the way, for our dear listeners, we are spoiling the crap out of this. So if you haven't seen Witcher season 3, and the few of you that have aspirations or intentions to do so, and you don't want to be spoiled, but come back later after you've watched it, and we'll give you our thoughts on this. So spoilers incoming, hot and heavy. Opening scene, dude with really small glasses shows up with a posse at some farm. And my first thought was, these are really small glasses. Are they actually useful? And my second thought was, do they have glasses in this world? Is there any other character to this point that has worn glasses? Because I don't remember a single person wearing glasses. And on top of that, I don't remember seeing another person in this season wearing glasses. And so I was completely removed from the whole world. Those were my first two thoughts immediately.
Oh, wow.
Like,
I was about to say, you are very enamored with this situation.
We are on Blood Origin territory with this character. And it's a character we've never met, and this character is not going to be important. Because what happens in the next couple minutes, Zack Snyder swoops in and decides to direct the opening scene of The Witcher, because we get a slow motion killing of the professor and the posse. And we're off and running. And I'm just thinking, oh no, I've got 5 3/4 more of these things to go. 5. No, I say 4. Thank God it wasn't 5. Anywho, it went up from there. So you can imagine, for me, it started off on kind of a low note, but a lot of cool location shots of Geralt and Yen, as they refer to her constantly, Yennefer, and Ciri. And they're going about the countryside running from these people with small glasses. They're trying to find her with posses. And they shack up in different locations. Geralt's not talking to Yennefer for some reason. There was some betrial at the end of last season with a witch, and they got taken to New York City after the Canadian fires. And
Yennefer tried, basically gave Ciri to the bad guy in season 2. That's basically why. Geralt doesn't trust Yennefer at the moment, even though in the end, Yennefer comes to see the good side again and is like, no, and helps save the day.
And apparently he's stuck with her because Ciri, I guess, has magical powers, which I had forgotten about. I remember in the first season she screamed a lot and caused earthquakes or something. So apparently she has these latent magical powers.
She bridges dimensions so that other.
You're jumping ahead. We find that out now in this season, don't we? Or do we find that out in the last season?
That's basically what they. Yes.
I should have rewatched last season, I guess.
Clearly. It's okay. I couldn't remember what happened each episode, but I can vaguely remember what happens in season 2. So
but this is why you're here, because you fill in the gaps. They're not helping me with my scoring of this. It's not going up in my estimation, but you're at least filling in the blanks. So because of her bridging of dimensions and her magic, which she can't control, Yennefer has to teach her. And Yennefer fails. She's not a very good teacher, apparently, because they have a whole montage of them holding their hands out at different natural features, a tree, a frozen lake, all this different stuff. And Yennefer keeps talking about how she's not really progressing well. And she's doing it through notes because Geralt won't talk to her, apparently. This whole time. And this is this is the problem I have with this whole series is I have no sense of time, space, place, kingdoms, but apparently this whole thing is taking place over multiple seasons in the sense of like spring, summer, fall, winter, because they were like on a seaside shack when it looked like summer. They end up in some kind of valley where there's a frozen lake and snow. So apparently there's a lot of time going by and they're on the run. Anyway, eventually Geralt starts talking to Yennefer again. They're hanging out with one of their Dwarven buddies, and the Dwarven buddy says, oh, there's a cool festival to herald, I think, spring coming up. Ciri really wants to go because she's got no friend. Yeah, Beltane's coming up, and that worked out so well for the people of Two Rivers. So you can imagine where this is going.
Never celebrate Beltane, basically.
Yeah. And Ciri's never had a friend in her life, and all she's stuck with these two, this Witcher and this mage, and so she really wants to go. And this is one of the things that, I don't know, off air, if you will, we talked about. But Geralt and Yennefer are really concerned because there'll be other people there that will note it. They'll recognize Ciri and this is a danger. But apparently it's a costume party. Yeah, apparently it's a costume party or whatever. And so they'll be masked up. The mask she wears is a handheld mask that she immediately discards. This is Ciri. When she arrives, starts dancing, and then goes into this gigantic maze from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And that turns out about as well as you would expect. As a monster is there. And this monster was apparently sent out by, I do remember this guy from last season, but I don't remember his name. But he's a fire mage, or at least he can manipulate fire, and he uses it liberally. He's an arsonist. And half his face is burned. Because it's something I think Yennefer did in rescuing Jaskier at one point. Yeah. I don't remember this guy's name. And so I called him Sandor Clegane the Hound the whole time. Because that's what he basically was. And so Sandor Clegane is looking for Ciri on behalf of some unknown benefactor, and he sent some weird rolling creature to go after her, and it sniffed her out. And so they fight this creature in this maze. I did forget to mention Yennefer, because Yennefer and Geralt were there like it was a high school dance party that needed chaperones. Yennefer was back in her orgy costume, orgy dress, her orgy outfit, and Geralt was all about it. Geralt was about it. So they killed the creature. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if you want to comment on that part.
Yeah, buddy.
There's no orgies as far as we know at
orgies yet, but
at Beltane. But they slay the creature, whatever. And now they're like, we can never run. They'll find us. They got the scent of Ciri or something like that. I don't really know. It's all a pretext to get them back on the road. So they have this great plan to hold Ciri out as bait for Sandor Clegane and his crew. And so that's what they do. They recruit Jaskier because they need Jaskier. Didn't really understand why. I guess they wanted some music for the road. And this is coming off his terrible role in Blood Origin. he was actually in Blood Origin, if you can believe that. And that didn't come up. Apparently that was supposed to connect to what's going on. Hasn't connected yet. Anyway, he's no longer doing his thing with the elves. He was, I think, being yelled at by some half-clothed woman about sleeping around or something. And he got threatened by these other people who I didn't remember. And they rolled up and they threatened him. I eventually found out by the 5th episode that these people are from Redania, which is apparently a very powerful kingdom in the north. Again, no real sense of place, scale, kingdoms, but whatever. I've learned to live with it because they're never going to fix that. So where am I at here? Oh yeah, so they're they're traveling in the countryside. Ciri's there as bait. Jaskier is there talking to Ciri about stuff. Geralt and Yen are off in the woods watching carefully. They find some ruin that apparently was like the last stand of some elven queen and her warriors against the humans. And long story short, the Sandor Clegane shows up with his band of merry men to capture her. There's a fight that ensues. Oh, that's right. The elves are back. There's like 20 of them or something. And there's some kind of internal politic where the queen doesn't like this other guy, this general. And they band together because they're looking for Ciri too. Ciri is the MacGuffin, certainly of this season. And I mean, they lean hard into that. And there's a battle, and elves die. Sandor Clegane, of course, gets away, gets his hands broken, but that's remedied immediately by the benefactor. They heal him, whatever. And yeah, so the end of the episode 1, but it ends with the Emperor of Nilfgaard, I think, Porcupine Man. And I refer to him as Porcupine Man because I don't remember his name. I assume he has a name, but he's the dad. He's Ciri's dad. Right? Yeah. Okay. And
Sure
I find out by the end of the end of the 5 episodes, he wasn't a porcupine. He was a hedgehog. So there you go. I got something wrong. Anyway, there you go. Episode 1. What'd you think?
I love it. Well, I love your recap summary. It made the episode way more interesting than it was.
Thank you.
And way more entertaining, I think. I mean, they had a lot of plot setting, I think they had to try to accomplish, and I don't know, they didn't do a really good job with it either. I don't like when shows, when they are trying to show a span of time passing, if they don't do it well, it's hard to understand exactly how much time has, like, to get yourself invested into what's been happening and the characters and their journey. So, like, I didn't think they did a very good job with that either. And I mean, that first scene with the man with small glasses, the professor,
Yes.
that first scene, I think, like, literally sums up the entire season. It's basically people trying to find Ciri and get her to take back to whomever wants her, like the 100 people who want her. And Geralt just kind of kills them, and then he just grunts and doesn't even say anything. Like, that literally sums up the entire season, in my opinion. Because he literally does it, like, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but Geralt just didn't seem to give 2 Fs this entire season. No. It felt like
Henry is mailing
Cavill
it in. He's mailing it in.
He is checked out. He's just getting his paycheck and going at this point. But yeah, the first episode wasn't great. And I think I remember texting you being like, I'm only on the 2nd episode and it's just kind of going. I'm hoping it picks up.
Yeah,
so.
I couldn't go into the 2nd episode of me. I mean, I watched it pretty late at night. So I was already tired. But at the same time, I was like, this didn't grab me at all. So I will get through these and hopefully they get better. And I think they do get better. I mean, as you said, there's a lot of setup, although I don't really know why there need to be so much setup, because they've been talking about Ciri's importance this whole time, people chasing her or whatever.
It's true.
And I don't remember. Do you remember at the end of the season 2, did they have any scene where they said, "Oh, we've got to leave the Witchers and go into hiding"? And I just completely forgot about that, because they just show up in this season and they're on their own. By the way, no other Witchers this season. Where'd the Witchers go?
No.
He needs allies.
They're off witchering.
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 The show could do with the show could do with.
Well,
more
remember
witchering.
at the end of season 2, the Witcher, which I think was the wolf school of Witchers, which is where Geralt's from. Well, the wolf symbol. I mean, their school got, like, decimated. I don't know if you remember that, but, like, tons of them died. And so they probably couldn't stay there because they're, like, trying to recover, and there's probably, like, barely anybody left.
So like, get out. Take them out.
So
get
they're
away
like,
from us.
get the hell out of here. And so they probably just, at the end of the season, they literally just left it off as, like, Geralt and Yennefer will protect Ciri, and that's kind of it. You know? And then, so I think this is literally picking up after that of saying, all these different, entities and stuff they're all trying to get Ciri, so they've been on the run, just avoiding them. while trying to train Ciri in the process.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, now that we're off and running. By the way, I was just checking my notes again. You were actually right. They do split up at the end of this. Geralt's going after Sandor Clegane, and Ciri and Yennefer are going to Hogwarts, so that Ciri can be trained.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. This is a show where they're just dropping fantasy terms and names, and I'm like, I can't keep track of all this crap. Anyway, episode 2, Unbound. This opens with a feast celebrating a victory, I think, over someone. There are bodies hanging with signs that I couldn't read and didn't care to rewind and read. But this is some town somewhere, presumably in the north. And Yennefer's there and Ciri's there. And Yennefer is talking to someone, hands someone a note. Ciri runs into some messenger from the king, gets visions. So apparently she has visions too. So she can open portals, connect portals, as well as has visions, but the visions are all scattered. And so she can't understand any of these visions. And one of the visions is she sees this messenger die. Not important who this messenger is. I don't even think they gave him a name. They just call him Royal Messenger. And so we're off and running. Ciri expresses some concern, wants to save this guy. And Yennefer is like, don't draw attention to yourself. That's our whole problem. You're a problem. And basically, I don't have Geralt there to be the counterweight.
Annoying teenage syndrome, basically. Like, she's an annoying teenager growing up.
Yeah, I don't think it's just
her role.
I think it's the next episode. I could be wrong. These kind of blended on their little side quest here to get to Hogwarts. But Yennefer just out of nowhere starts calling Ciri the ugly one. And her explanation was, oh, well, now I'm being truthful with you. I'm like, what? Anyway, what's next on my list here? Oh, Geralt slayed a monster. I was like, oh, this is where he's like coming out with Yaskier from an alley with a beating heart. And I thought, wow, how cool would it have been to see this on screen? You know, it's The Witcher. He supposedly slays monsters, and, you know, I'm glad he's slaying monsters, but I guess they didn't have the budget for it at the beginning of this. And so he goes to some door with some booby trap, and he uses the heart to trigger the booby trap or whatever. And who answers the door? But the villain from Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls, with long hair, and I think he had a beard. And then it took me a few minutes to realize, oh, wait a minute, these people were, because he's also there with someone else. I don't know if it's his wife, his partner, who this person is. But I remember, okay, these people were in season 2. I don't remember what they did in season 2. They apparently have information about prophecies and history and it. But Geralt's there, and he wants to buy information about Sandor Clegane. Yaskier's with him for some reason. Don't worry, he's not going to be there long. Geralt tosses him aside again. But in essence, he convinces these two to give him information about Sandor Clegane and this anonymous person that's running Sandor Clegane or directing him. And so they tell him about some castle where Sandor Clegane has allegedly been hiding out or something. But we're back to Porcupine King, who's now Hedgehog King. And he has some stories to tell. Well, he's getting a sword reforged or something. It's all about how he came to power. I still don't know what this guy's deal is, other than he's apparently the father of Ciri. We saw him turn into a porcupine at one point, and Geralt saved him, and then allegedly he drowned at sea. I don't know. I have no idea who this guy is. I don't know anything about him. I don't really know anything about Nilfgaard, although Nilfgaard for 3 seasons has been threatening to take over the north, and yet they're not doing anything. This guy is just hanging out in his
capital. They need Ciri.
I guess.
I don't know why, but they need
He's
her.
got an army, apparently. Anyway, he's telling some story, and he's going to get another sword forged because he also wants to save the world. He wants world peace. They all want world peace, but they're going to kill a bunch of people to get world peace. Whatever. Anyway, back to Yen and Ciri. They're still hanging out. I think there's some marketplace, and they're looking for a portal because they want to, I think, portal to Hogwarts. But apparently, if you can follow people from the residue of the portal or something, she needs a clean portal. And so she goes to some local mage who specializes in clean portals. I don't know. I think she's in the drug trade. And some dude, while they're there talking to her, shows up with Tyrion Lannister. And Tyrion Lannister is on a chain. And this guy wants a portal to somewhere where he's going to go take this person, take Tyrion Lannister. But Ciri has another flash of visions and sees Tyrion Lannister getting killed by some mob. And so what does she do? She frees him. He runs off. The guy with tattoos that stand there is very upset. So he takes out a sword to kill Ciri, and then Darth Vader force chokes him to death and kills him. And this person apparently works for someone named Hoovenagel. Like the dead guy works for someone named Hoovenagel, which I thought was the best part of the episode because I was like, that name is awesome. Hoovenagel. How great is that? And how would you like to be killed by someone named Hoovenagel? What a crap way to go. Yeah, apparently now Hoovenagel's going to be after them because they killed his man and stole the money they would have made off of Tyrion Lannister. And the other mage just like summons the four. I was like, peace, good luck with Hoovenagel. And by the way, who's Hoovenagel? We don't know. Hoovenagel doesn't show up. There is no more Hoovenagel. They just take off.
Upset.
They just go off on horses and leave. and like not even emissaries of Hoovenagel show up. I'm hoping for more Hoovenagel in part 2. If I don't get more Hoovenagel, it will have been a failure of this show not to give me more
Hoovenagel origin.
Yeah. My next note is mages still at war with one another. I think this refers to just a scene where a bunch of them are arguing and shouting at each other.
Yep.
Not relevant. Anyway. No. I forgot that I alluded to, Geralt is going to go to this castle to follow Sandor Clegane. He just like throws Jaskier off because he apparently fears for him. And I just have here, what? Suddenly Jaskier is at Redania. I remembered a name. He just shows up at Redania. Now he's got the Game of Thrones season 8 teleportation powers. This is awesome.
Sure does.
And so he is now with the prince dude. And they are, IFing each other. If I don't want to cuss. This is a kid's program after all. And so he sings them a song. So we got a song. It's nowhere near
kind of.
Toss a coin, your Witcher, or Burn, Witcher, Burn. I much prefer season 1, season 2 Jaskier. But he sings for them. He serenades everyone. Everyone's captivated by him, especially the prince. I don't remember the prince's name, but he's the Prince of Redania.
I don't either.
He's apparently wittier, smarter than people give him credit for. Anyway, yeah, we can move on. He's gonna look into Sandor Clegane for Jaskier. I don't know. Anyway, we get to Geralt. He's at this castle. This I actually like. This is the highlight of the episode. He fights a monster.
I agree.
And we see it.
And it was a creepy monster.
It was a really creepy freaking monster. It was an awesome monster. And I liked how it was both like the heads and then like, as you like stab the hearts in the thing.
Yeah.
The heads droop. That was so cool. Loved it. He fights a monster. It
reminded me of like the monster from Ocarina of Time. I don't know if you remember, but in the temple, the Shadow Temple with like the arms that are up and you have to like attack and the arms try to reach and grab you and then like the monster actually comes out of the ground. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh my God,
like the same idea of like you only see like certain appendages at first, but then the actual like big monster comes out and like attacks. It's just, I love those kind of, they're always so creepy. Those kind of creatures are always so creepy and because it's just so like unknown and like, whoa. And then you learn that it was an experiment, like some bad magician's experiment with these girls. And that makes it even more terrifying, a more terrifying monster. Yeah.
But he finds a Ciri lookalike. Still
Ciri lookalike.
Head still attached to body, just a little scrambled in the mind, and she thinks she's Ciri.
Oh, my possession.
The plot thickens. And so my thought, I was wondering, is like, okay, so does she look like Ciri before the mage started experimenting on them, or did he also give her a terrible wig to wear and some green contacts to make her look more like Ciri and just tell her she's Ciri?
I don't know, because
how come, this is one of the cool things I like, different eye colors for all these different characters and very vibrant eye colors. And all I can think about is why didn't they do this on Game of Thrones? Because, Daenerys and the Targaryens apparently have the amethyst.
Eyes. Yeah.
Get them, it can't be that expensive. I mean, Yennefer's running around with incredibly vibrant purple eyes. But,
yeah, I don't know. I think in Game of Thrones, I don't think it really was a question of like expense, like budget or anything like that. I think for them, it was not taking it too far out of the realm of like real world versus fantasy because they already have dragons. And so I don't think they wanted to make it too heavy in like the fantasy world, if that makes sense. Whereas The Witcher's literally like, magicians, magic, people, creatures, killing creatures and stuff. So, it's like pure fantasy where I feel like Game of Thrones, they try to keep it more like political balance with fantasy and stuff. So
I wish this show would add some politics to it.
But I agree, because I think Yennefer's eyes are like super cool. Makes me want to wear purple contacts.
Yeah. I mean, it's a digression, but at the same time, it's all I could think about every time I saw her on screen. Like, man, she would have made a great Targaryen. They need for the silver hair. Anyway, I love the monster fight. And all I could think of additionally was they need more of this.
The best
Why
part.
can't this be the show? This should be the show. It should just be a monster of the week.
The first season was so great, because every single episode, Geralt fought some kind of creature, which is what Witchers do. And that's why the first season was so great, in my opinion.
I completely concur.
Yeah.
And now, this though I did not make sense. Apparently, he just takes this girl, fake Ciri, I call her Fury, and leaves. And apparently, there is some reference in a future episode that he didn't find Sandor Clegane wasn't there. So I guess implicitly he searched the castle.
Yeah, he didn't find.
It seemed like he just left,
or the bad guy,
the bad person,
the bad magician,
and the bad person.
He didn't find him either.
I have some theories on who the bad person is. Anyway, we're almost done with almost done with episode 2. Oh my god. Anyway, Sandor Clegane does show up.
It's like you should just speed through episode 3 and 4.
We're going to speed through episode 5 for certain. Even though I know it's your favorite. Anyway, how does episode 2, what is this called? Unbound, I think. Unbound. And, well, Sandor Clegane does show up, but he's at Ace Ventura 2's villain's place. And he knows that they told Geralt about Sandor Clegane and the mysterious figure, whatever. He's upset and he wants to know what else they told him and everything. And so they threaten their cat. First, I didn't know they had a cat. 2, that was when I really actually hated him and I didn't want him to die. But it turns out he decides to burn the people and not the cat. So he saves the cats. The cat's okay. But the other 2 are not. They are now Uncle. Thank goodness the cat
is okay.
Yeah, they've been turned to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru from Star Wars. And so we probably won't see them again. And then I have here a note that says, Yen gives Ciri a glimpse into Yen's backstory. She tells Ciri she's just like her. I'm sure there's a lesson in this little anecdote somewhere, and I don't care. So, there you go. Episode 2. I forgot, because I think it's at the end of that story that so it must be this episode, because I think it's at the end of that story when she stops calling Ciri the ugly one and calls her Ciri. So there you go.
Yes.
Character development. Episode. Any comments on episode 2 before I move on to episode 3?
No, I think we covered the best part of it, and the rest was just not interesting whatsoever.
See, I can't remember. I think this might have also been the one where they go to the circus and there's a wyvern there and the wyvern gets loose.
That literally no reason. What purpose did that serve? No purpose.
I assumed it was something because she lost money at this place. So I was thinking, because they lost money, they're going to be having to do favors for someone to get on their way. But no, it's never referenced again.
No. I think it was a character development moment for Ciri that just felt incredibly flat.
It was pretty dumb. But I do want to say,
stupid.
She's walking around with a guy named Fabio who looks very un-Fabio.
Fabio.
So there you go. Episode 3, Reunion. Jaskier can't get the prince out of his mind. He is fixated because this opens up with him in bed, I think with the woman who's throwing clothes off of her balcony at him in the first episode. But he's unclothed with another woman in bed who's also unclothed, and he's just talking about hammers and nails in a metaphorical sense, not in any kind of double entendre way, I don't think. But then he starts talking about spoons and porridge, because the spoon is a better tool for porridge. And all I could think about was, is he wondering whether or not the prince is the big spoon or the little spoon? But anyway, the woman there tells him he's got a crush on the prince, and then Geralt shows up. Okay, cool. Didn't really need that scene, but whatever, it's in there. So Geralt's back, and he's recruiting Jaskier, and Geralt, I think, is looking for... Oh, no, he's not looking for Ciri yet. He's still got Fury. This is the fake Ciri. And he tells Jaskier, she thinks she's Ciri, and I'm going to take her to a druid. I didn't know druids existed in this world, but apparently they do. Maybe that was something else I forgot from the first 2 seasons. But there's a druid that apparently can help. And this druid is married to, I'm not sure, a werewolf. So they're werewolves too. But apparently Geralt saved this werewolf from wolfing out, and he's got some necklace where he doesn't wolf out. But it turns out later in the episode, it's not really the necklace. It's like Geralt's hand on his chest or something that calms him down. I don't know how the mechanics work on it, but apparently he's not going to wolf out. I got excited for a second. I was like, he's going to wolf out. This is great fun by whoever's controlling this little girl. Oh, no.
Cool fight.
again, they ran out of a budget. They couldn't show a cool fight with a werewolf.
Can't show transformation.
No. But this druid apparently knew Geralt's mother. This is going to come up. This is going to come up in some kind of exposition later in the episode. And it does. Spoiler alert. But apparently this druid tells him, oh, yeah, this is like high-level enchantment magic that's on this poor girl's mind. And I didn't even know people had the knowledge about how to deal with this or to impose this or cast this. But I have this elixir that this werewolf put together that this person can drink and then can take care of it. And I'm like, what? Is there just a fix-all potion? Or are you the one that has all the knowledge? I mean, it was, like, do they think about the stuff that they write in this? I don't know.
No.
Anyway, yeah, so and she's got to sleep it off. So she's like super hungover from the combination of the elixir and the enchantment spell. It's like when you mix liquor and beer, you are going to be suffering the next day. And so this is really just a way to lengthen this storyline with Geralt and Jaskier. So while Fury's sleeping this off, we're back to Yen and Ciri. They're still not at Hogwarts. I wrote down they're doing a lot of side quests. So they are like living the video game, because they are doing all these different things before they even get to Hogwarts. Yen wants to square things with her past, which just means she's going to meet with McGonagall. I forgot her name too. I think it's Tissa.
I don't. It's along those. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Tassicia. I don't know.
Yeah,
but yes,
something like that. The one that taught her, that found her on the pig farm.
Professor McGonagall, basically.
Professor McGonagall, who now runs Hogwarts. She co-runs it with her lover, Virulete. I don't know that because his name was. I can't keep track of these people.
Dude who gave a bracelet.
And so they go back and forth, and McGonagall says, "Oh, sure, come on back, whatever. You know, you're a traitor. You've killed people. You've cast this whole North into civil war and all this crap. But whatever. I forgive you. I forgive you. Yeah. Bring the special girl. She can hang out. I'll try and train her. I mean, she makes my eye bleed a little later, but it's all good. It's all good. I can handle. And then she says, very touchingly, in a very touching manner. I don't know. All this time, all your journeys, you finally figured it out. And Yen says, what did I figure out? How to become a mother. Oh, tear.
Beautiful.
Even though you're referring to your daughter as the ugly one for an entire episode, but whatever. I guess you're just trying to build her up. This is not parenting of Gen Z. There's no trophies to everybody. not Yennefer's one. Yennefer's not getting a trophy unless you've earned it. Dang it. Geralt, I don't know. Geralt, I think will definitely give you some trophies even if you haven't earned it. So
that's true.
Parenting difficulties between those two. Okay, so any comments up to this point?
No.
Okay, me neither. That's how I felt going through these episodes too. So the general from the Nilfgaard, who had a really scraggly, ugly beard and hair in the last season because he was on the run, he's back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
And this is a storyline that it started in the second episode. I completely didn't write anything about it because I thought it was dumb, but apparently he's friends with this elven rebel guy who wants to take over the elves or something. So I call this guy General Sir. I got nothing better for him at the moment. But he basically is in the outs with the Emperor, Porcupine Emperor, because apparently he betrayed the Porcupine Emperor or something. I don't even remember this, but apparently he did. In previous seasons. So I don't know. It feels like forced drama to me. Anyway, he's exiled or something, but he's like killing the enemies of Nilfgaard. I don't know. But he brings this rebel elf back and tells the Porcupine Emperor, like, hey, this dude, he knows his stuff. He's a solid warrior. He's got a sword and everything. And he is ready to take over the elves. And if you back him, I'm telling you, we're going to conquer the North. And even though you have this gigantic army or whatever, you just won't do it. But, this guy, he'll push you. And so the Porcupine Emperor's like, yeah, he's got a good look about him. I like him. He's got a scar on his face. He's seen some stuff. And so, hey, take care of this guy. Give him a room, whatever. And he leaves, but the general stays. And the Porcupine Emperor's like, you really want to prove your loyalty? You really want to prove it? And the general gives him a look that says, I do want to prove it. Just tell me what I got to do. Well, later on in the episode, I'll go to the chase. Later on the episode, the price that must be paid is the rebel elf's blood. And so General hangs out with him in his room, drinks a little bit with him, and they chatter back and forth, and then the dude stabs him in the neck, and he did. And so the general back in the good graces of the Porcupine Emperor, and at some point he's given some mission to. There were names dropped. I don't remember. There's a Francesca and a Fringilla. I learned later Fringilla was the mage I'd forgotten about from the second season, and who was drinking wine and getting drunk, and chained in some wine cellar. It's not important. I don't think. But apparently Francesca is. I think Francesca is the Elf Queen. I could be wrong about that, but I'm going to go with Elf Queen because I'm not certain about it. Do you know who Francesca is? For our listeners out there. so, Francesca may or may not be the Elf Queen. If she is, the mission's about the Elf Queen. So there you go. I think that was the detour to Nilfgaard, where the Porcupine Emperor does his best Cersei Lannister and just hangs out in balconies, on balconies, in rooms, not doing a whole lot. Anywho, okay. So I have next, the plot thickens with an exclamation mark. What does this refer to? I don't remember. Apparently a mage with the Brotherhood is using Sandor Clegane. Oh no, the werewolf nearly wolfed out because Fury was taken control of. This is referring to what I said earlier, where the necklace is ripped.
They're so good. Yes.
Fury is taken control of, and whoever, presumably the evil person pulling all the strings, takes control, rips off the necklace. The dude starts wolfing out. Geralt puts his hand on his chest, says, "Calm down." I don't know if you hear that. Calm down, Wolfie. Calm down. I can't tell if it's coming through, but he whispers softly, and he calms down, and there's no werewolf fight because they ran out of money for this episode. So we're done with that. Ciri goes to a circus. Oh, here's the circus. Okay, I preempted myself. Now we're at the circus with Fabio. I won't go through. I talked about in episode 2. Just put it in episode 3. It really doesn't matter. As you said, there's no point to this, really.
Literally.
And my next sentence is, so much exposition. Yen and Ciri, Geralt and Druid, Yen and Professor McGonagall, Thaisa, whatever. And then in parentheses, it said, I suppose this is all supposed to be character development, but I can't tell. The Yen and Ciri thing, again, was about Ciri, like, taking control of her powers or growing up or something. Don't really care. Geralt and the Druid, they talked about his mother. Again, don't really care. That was a season 1 thing. Don't need more on that front. Need more. I need Geralt slaying monsters. Dang it. Yen and McGonagall, because this actually was interesting. They went to a brothel, and they were, even though there's only one naked man, like, I know it's a private room, but come on. But they're the mages are drinking, getting drunk, treating Ciri like crap because she's a novice or whatever. And that was what led to, like, the fight with Yennefer and Ciri, is that Ciri wasn't being respectful of mages, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Back to Redania. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
And yes, this refers to a better product, the movie 7. This is referring to this whole dumb subplot with these two advisors who apparently run the CIA of Redania. The king is a buffoon, seemingly, and he's now holding secret meetings, and this threatens the position of the two advisors. The queen apparently is egging the king on in this way, and so they cut her head off and pretend that the queen was working with Nilfgaard. And they also set it up so that the box that delivers the head of the queen is from Nilfgaard. And so now the king is distraught, hates Nilfgaard, swears vengeance, blah, blah, blah. This plot line is really dumb. Oh, this is also the plot line with the prince that loves Yaskier. So there you go. It was obvious to me. It was not Nilfgaard. It was the guy from House of the Dragon, a much better show, who is the head of the CIA of Redania. He set it all up, and then he threatens the prince because the prince was trying to, take over the CIA or whatever. So it wasn't very interesting, I didn't think. Did you know it was him? Did you think it was Nilfgaard? Or did you pretty much guess what was going on?
Oh no, I knew immediately, because I think in a previous scene, maybe in the episode 2, they literally said, like, we have to do something about this potential Nilfgaard. I almost said Milfgaard. Nilfgaard.
That could be a more interesting show too.
Yes, totally. No, in a previous scene, they those two alluded it to. We have to do something, so it basically already gave it away.
Must be done. Yeah. And there's some line where the guy from House of the Dragon says, "Oh, we'll find a good use for the queen," or something like that. Oh, her head in the box. There you go. Let's see here. The general kills the rebel elf. Oh, I went over that. Passing that. Don't care.
Sure did.
This ends, I believe. Yes, this episode ends with the Nazgul chasing Ciri, because Ciri just got fed up with all the mages drinking and treating her like crap. And she's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to find Geralt. She whispered to a coin, and she just takes off on a horse, and she's on the path by herself. And the Nazgul show up and start chasing her and whispering to her and reaching out for her and whatnot. And then Deus Ex Geralt shows up and
magically
force pushes him away.
just out of nowhere. And with his little tiny force push. Yeah.
His little tiny force.
It was like so tiny. It's the tiny, like, little Witcher force push. They wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, but they're Nazgul. You know, a river stopped them. So
Nazgul.
Nazgul in this world crossover. Here we go. So that's episode 3. What'd you think? Okay.
I did not enjoy it. That was probably my least favorite episode, just because I felt like nothing happened. I felt like it felt like a filler episode. Let's put it that way.
I agree. I completely agree.
It was a filler episode, and not a good one. Yeah. There's some filler episodes that are great. This one was not good, in my opinion.
Well, and they don't seem to care that Ciri left.
No.
On her own.
No one noticed. And yet Yennefer was literally like, I will protect her I'll be around her 24/7 and blah, 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 blah. And she just leaves.
Oh my, I couldn't believe it.
On her own without any, it's really strange.
Oh. So, episode 4, almost done. The Invitation. The Porcupine Emperor, who does little beyond walk and talk, gives the general a new task. This is the Francesca Fringilla thing. And I wrote here parenthetically, who is Francesca again? And I didn't have the energy or the attention span to Google it.
I looked it up. It's the Elven source, the one you're thinking of.
All right, good. So it makes sense that he shows up to her later on in this episode and like, hey, let's join forces. Okay. There you go. Francesca, a very elven name. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Yen tries to convince... Yen's in front of the council. The council that has condemned her, made her try to execute the general that we were just talking about. She screwed up all their plans, cast the North into civil war or something, pissed off a bunch of people. Stregobor still isn't happy. Stregobor's never happy, but don't worry, Lars Mikkelsen, you'll be in a Star Wars show here soon. Anywho... Yen succeeds in convincing them to call a conclave, which hasn't happened since, I think, the first season is the reference. And that ended up in war. So prospects are high for this one. And Yennefer's got McGonagall on her side, Vera Malte or whatever his name is on her side. Triss. Thais is McGonagall. Triss is the redhead. Yes, who's been in prior seasons. Yeah, she got burned or something in one episode or a season. I don't remember. But she's there too. And she's really concerned about novices because they've been disappearing and no one else seems to care. Everyone's got the attitude I have toward this show at this point. But she's very concerned about this. And Yen is successful, shocking. They need this ball to happen, this conclave to happen. So they agree to it. And then the next thing we see with these mages, they're all doing origami and sending these invitations out to all the mages in the realm. And it was unclear to me. Yeah. And it was unclear to me, is it like just anyone that can wield magic? Because we'll see in the next episode, the portal maker who's working in the drug trade to clean all these portals, she's there.
Well, I think she's still considered a magician.
Is she still part of the Brotherhood?
I think so.
I don't understand any of these dynamics because they never explain it, but she's there, so she must be. Anyway, origami stuff goes out. Triss is worried, blah, blah, blah. She thinks there's some kind of sinister scheme no one else cares. Let's see. Ooh, it's a nautical episode because we're getting on a boat.
It's a nautical episode.
A boat. We're on a boat. Which is on a boat. Which is on a boat. And the only way they get on, because apparently I guess they don't have enough money or something to wherever this boat's supposed to be taking them, because they're also on their way to Hogwarts, because Fury told Geralt that somehow, I don't remember, that the manipulator's in Hogwarts, so they're on their way to Hogwarts because the plot needs them to go there. And they convince this boat captain, we'll kill this monster that's been plaguing you for a while now, and will that be sufficient to pay our way? And the boat captain's like, oh, Witcher, thank God. And sure, you can come on my boat, yeah. Just make sure you kill the monster. And there's some attempt at humor here with Ciri supposedly giving Geralt lessons in smiling. And I said, BT dubs, the humor does not work. It's really stupid. Did you like that? Did you like that little bit between Jaskier and Ciri and Geralt?
No, because when did they ever when was Jaskier around Ciri long enough to like in
valid point. Valid point.
Like task? No, that doesn't make sense whatsoever.
By the way, do you remember last season when he was the Sandpiper and he had this system to help elves get away from persecution?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no one else seems to. Anyway, so yeah, Jaskier's there with his loop. They were getting on the boat. For whatever reason, we're flashing back to the politics of Hogwarts. Yennefer's got to go to Redania to recruit the two advisors for some reason. She has to do this in person. I don't remember why. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. But they're going to give her a portal, and she's going to go there. And she shows up on the same day as the funeral. And so there's a scene in this really small area with only a few people, and the king is bloviating about going to war with Nilfgaard for killing his wife. And in the back are the two advisors conspiring with Yennefer, and the subtext is very on the nose. It's dumb. The advisors are resistant at first to go to Hogwarts for the conclave. The funeral ends. They're off to war or something. The king shushes everybody away, or pushes them away, signal, get out of my sight. I'm done with you. And the three of them, the two advisors, Yennefer walk up. Condolences are exchanged. Blah blah blah. Yennefer seemingly manipulates the king into convincing the advisors and the prince, because the prince has to be there to hook up with Jaskier, to go to the conclave. Even though this is a conclave of mages, we're going to send two humans, whatever. The plot needs it. So King's like, yes, I will not take no for an answer. You're going with this witch no matter what, blah, 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 blah. I'm off to go fight wars to avenge my queen. And, the two advisors don't look very happy. The prince doesn't really register emotion on his face, so I have no idea what he's feeling. So let's see here. Oh, my next note. So far, any comments? Have I missed anything? Would you like to comment on anything?
The only thing that I would comment on that so far is how easily the king agreed to Yennefer sending his advisors, because that's the same king that Yennefer let the prisoner go and then started this whole war in the north.
Was the king there? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the king was there, and he that's how he offended him. At least I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong because it's very confusing. But
I remember
I'm
there were
pretty
kings
sure
at the
he was
execution.
there. Yeah,
you may be right.
I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. So,
well, he's
but
distraught.
I just thought
he can't think
straight
because he's in mourning.
Funny how easily he was just like, "Oh yeah, you need to go to this party." Basically,
yeah.
It made no sense. But okay.
Represent us there. And it's also weird to me that we only see him. He's like the only monarch I think we see outside of Porcupine Emperor, who doesn't give a crap what's going on up north.
Yeah,
but they're not concerned about these mages meeting to decide the fate of the North. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-mm.
But I know you've been missing the water and the waves, and so let's get back to the boat. And Les, you seem to think this is a very uninteresting storyline in this episode. A rival of Jaskier shows up before they disembark, and he's got a troop. And I said, oh my God, this episode is turning into Pitch Perfect with a dash of Fifth Element's Chris Tucker character.
Yeah.
Because they come on sing a little song. There are three of them. The main singer, who very much reminded me in demeanor and character and everything of Chris Tucker's character. Do you remember Chris Tucker's character's name in The Fifth Element?
Oh my God.
Because that's who I need to refer to him as. He was great. I loved him in that. Ruby Road.
Rudy. I was like, it starts with an R. Yeah, so
yeah.
I was like, it's Ruby Road. Yes.
It had the
so
awesome
good.
cane microphone thing.
Yes,
that was
the hair,
so cool.
the outfit.
Yes.
So good.
I loved him. So yeah, Ruby shows up. And obviously, we've never heard of this person before that I'm aware of. But Jaskier knows them. They're rivals, and they've clearly been rivals for a long time. And so you just know there's going to be some kind of sing-off thing at some point in this episode. And sure enough, they start singing at some point for no reason, antagonizing the witches and really annoying Jaskier. But this music, I guess, draws the creature, the monster, to the boat. And so we get another monster fight. And again, I liked it. I thought the creature design was cool. I thought the choreography was decent. And it was fun. And again, I thought, why isn't this the show?
Why isn't this happening in every single episode?
So what do you think of this monster fight? Not as good, I don't think, as the one in the castle, but I thought this was good.
Not as good as the one in the castle, but I mean, it was still good because it was still different in that it was on a boat at sea, so that was interesting. And yeah, pretty good choreography. It was the most interesting fight I've seen so far with Ciri, because I don't think her choreography is that great, in my opinion. It looks very fake and like forced, in my opinion, from an acting standpoint, and like fake acting and fake fighting or whatever. But I thought it was well done in this sense. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was what made the episode the most exciting, in my opinion. Again, another creature battle, though, like we've been talking about.
The two nitpicks I have are, one, it starts with the kind of cliche thing where there's someone that's drawing its attention, and they say, and someone they're told, this music, in this case, will draw the attention of the monster, and the person says, oh no, it won't, it's not going to draw the monster, blah. And then of course there's a tentacle that comes and grabs the person.
Sure.
That's so dumb and overdone. The other one is, if you watch, I don't know if you got this, but if you watch like the scene, Geralt is hanging back for a lot of it and not doing anything. And it's all Ciri doing stuff, which I thought was weird. I was like, is this a choice? Like, is this a story choice? Like, oh, this is him trying to see if she can do it on her own. I'll jump in where she needs. Or is this just, we didn't have enough room on the set?
Defend this a little bit.
Okay, defend it.
And,
give it to me.
And my defending is that, yes, he's letting her take the lead in killing the creature, because right before that, she talks about doing more of her Witcher training versus magic training. And that's why they kind of pursue this to begin with. And so I think he was intentionally holding back to let her take the lead on killing the creature.
I'm glad that's it, because that doesn't make sense to me. Because at first I was like, what is he doing? He's just standing there with his sword sheathed. But you've convinced me. And so you mentioned, like, she wants to be basically a Witcher. That's what she really cares about. And there's like another scene.
That's what she says. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all I could think about was, that's the show I'd want to see. I'm
sounds
stuck
more
in this
interesting.
And I don't want to see it with Liam Hemsworth. So anyway, yeah, they get off the boat. The captain, I'm sure, is happy. We don't actually see the captain again, so he's dead weight. And so we're now we're on land, and I guess they're near Hogwarts or something, because Yen is just hanging out in the woods waiting for them. And she's, hi Geralt, hi Ciri. Yen and Ciri make up. Again, this is so dumb because Ciri just left and they didn't make any big to do about it, which that was dumb. But Geralt and Yen smooch, so they apparently are okay again.
Smoochy.
They're back together. They're on again in their little off on again relationship, racial relationship, whatever.
Situationship.
And there's this kind of strange scene where Jaskier and Ciri are watching Geralt and Yen talk and then kiss, and it gets really strange and weird. But I think it's supposed to be humorous, but again, I don't think the humor really works.
I think so, but it fell flat again.
Yeah. And apparently, so this is what comes out is Yen and Geralt are going to go to the conclave by themselves. Jaskier is going to stay with Ciri in the woods somewhere, and with no guards apparently. And waited out.
Jaskier.
Yeah. Who can't fight, has demonstrated he can't fight, is not a guard. And in fact,
literally leaves to go hook up with his Prince Leva.
Yeah, well, the prince wanders right up to this cabin where they're staying.
Just magically appears there all of a sudden.
And Jaskier takes his loot as a weapon, and I'm gonna bash you across the head, blah blah blah. I mean, these people are dumb. The choices they make are really really stupid, I think.
Oh, it's terrible.
So let's see. I'm almost done with this episode. The last two things I have is the general teams up with the Elf Queen. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Who we now know is Francesca. The last thing I have here is Geralt and Yen think it's Strugaball. Butcher. Manipulating everything. And right there, okay, it's not Strugaball. It's too obvious.
Of course not. It's too obvious.
Yeah, this day and age, you can't go. It's never the obvious person.
I mean, he's clearly not a good dude, but...
Yeah. And he's Lars Mikkelsen, so he's naturally going to seem evil. Do you remember he was in Sherlock?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he was great in Sherlock.
And he played a creepy dude. Yeah,
he did play a creepy dude. And so they're getting ready for the conclave, the party. And there was something about about Fringilla. She's now in a bar somewhere. She's free. Doesn't matter. I assume it's going to pay off in the final 2 episodes, but again, at the moment, doesn't matter. So, any thoughts? Any final thoughts? Episode 4. That was the end I had.
Once again, the best part was just the creature battle.
There you go. The final one. We did it. We made it. Episode 5. Deni's favorite episode, The Art of Illusion. My notes are a quarter the size of the other episodes, and that's okay because about 3/4 of this episode is just rehashed scenes and dialogue. So
true.
This is the party because apparently the conclave has to be preceded by some ball where people get drunk and hook up. There is an aphrodisiac that is put in the wine, and there is a lot of people that are trying to.
Mages are really horny.
They are in this show. My God.
Taking out of the show is that mages are really horny.
Yeah. But Yen did not wear her orgy dress to this particular ball.
No, she wore a much more provocative one, in my opinion.
She was she lost good abs for Yen.
That's
there are
true.
a lot of provocative dresses in this particular episode. Whereas they just layered all the dudes in literal layers of clothing. I think Geralt had 2 or 3 like coats on. It was ridiculous. At least I thought it was ridiculous. Like, come on. Anyway, it's kind of a cool setup. They're in some open air area. They got this gigantic fire halo that's lighting everything up above them. So the ambiance, I like the ambiance. This is basically the ball, and it's all about the ball and what happens during the ball and all the political machinations that are not, in my opinion, written very well. They're fairly uninteresting of the different combinations of characters. Geralt and Yen, Stregobor is there. I think his name's Istrid or something is there, who is a person you've seen in prior seasons who's been interested in artifacts. I don't think he's important, but he's there. He's talking to people. McGonagall's there. Vera Mistrius or whatever his name is there. So all the big players, including the woman who can't speak, but she talks telepathically, and she is the interface between the manipulator and the hound. No one seems to care that she's there, but she's there. So all these people are there. This is interspersed with various scenes of Yennefer and Geralt in bed in front of the fireplace in a bath, rehashing everything that's going on at the ball. And so they show us all these different things. Oh, let me see. Let me check my notes. I'll let you talk more about this because you like this episode. But let me see if Stregobor looks creepy the whole time. He's just creepily staring at people across the room. He's got dark lighting around him, so he looks like super creepy. I have here, it was a hedgehog emperor, not a porcupine emperor. Oops. So I screwed that up. I don't remember who said it was a hedgehog, but someone made mention of the hedgehog emperor in this episode. There was another song. The song was sung by Ruby Road this time and his band of his little troupe. And it was the dumbest thing ever because the main refrain was all is not as it seems. And all I could think was like, wow, that is so clever as to be dumb. I mean, it's so on the nose. Like, oh, did you get it? Oh, people have secrets. Oh, everyone's not acting the way they.
No,
there are illusions. Oh my god.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, so stupid. Oh, I don't know what you thought of the song, but I thought it was really dumb. And they kept playing it. Like every time we switched to like a new perspective, you heard them singing that little line. I'm like, oh my, we get it. Let's see. Everyone seems interested in The Witcher, like they've never seen a Witcher. I said parenthetically, by the way, where are all the other Witchers? They would be very helpful at this point. Because they, Yennefer and Geralt keep saying, we can't trust anyone. We cannot trust anyone. I'm like, you were living with people you can trust. They were fine. Anyway, I'm not getting my soapbox about that. The last thing I had here is what with 2 question marks. No one knew the wordless mage is out of place. Something basically. Oh, don't they know who they invited? No one, to my knowledge, has ever referenced this person. We've seen him as the audience, obviously, with Sandra Clegane. But then she just shows up at this ball. And eventually, at the end of this episode, they do make reference. Oh, that's Lydia of something or other. And, oh, yeah, she followed some man and he was poisoned and half her face is missing and she doesn't live, blah, blah, blah. Yep. But she speaks telepathically. And, oh, Fury said something about a funny voice coming from a woman who didn't move her mouth. Oh, Geralt. Ooh. Sherlock Geralt here, yeah.
Dots are connecting.
And, boop, 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 boop. My last note is Stregobor just creeping on everybody throughout the ball.
True.
And eventually, just to wrap it up, they confront Stregobor in his quarters because he has some book that was stolen, and the book is supposedly evidence that he is kidnapping half-elven novices and experimenting on them in the bowels of some castle to create a monstrosity that Geralt had killed, and he wants to do something with portals and elves, and he's clearly racist because he hates like anybody that's not human and like pure-blood humans. Basically Voldemort. He's the Voldemort of the series. He only likes pure-blood humans. So he is an awful guy. We've known he's an awful guy this whole time. But as we said earlier, that's why we know he's not the person manipulating everything, because he would be the obvious choice, and so he can't be the choice.
Yeah, he's like the Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah. He's a little more effective in what he does than Lucius Malfoy.
True.
Yeah.
Very
although
true.
I still don't know if he has hands or not. Do you remember that scene from the last season where I think are the hands an illusion? Because there's one point where he's got just stubs, but then he conjures, I think, hands. And
Maybe.
So I think he's lost his hands. Anyway. It's, again, something that they threw in that wasn't relevant to anything in the season. And so they arrest him. The equivalent of arresting a mage, and he's going to stand trial.
Going on trial.
Yeah, he's going on trial. And so they escort him to, I guess, I'm assuming there was a dungeon. Everyone's like, okay, good job, Team Geralt and Team Yennefer. We did it. We got our man. Now let's go like celebrate your victory and toast to your glory. And so basically the episode closes out with Geralt and Yennefer as they're clothing one another after their coitus, realizing they've been played, that this bracelet that fell off the wrist of McGonagall, who was given to her by her lover Volumir or whatever, had gemstones that are only found in the area where the castle with monstrosity is. Oh my God. Oh, and Volumiri or whatever referenced some painting about where Yennefer was ambushed and almost killed earlier in the season. Oh, it's gotta be this guy. We've got our man. Let's go get him. Leave Stregobor in prison. He's a horrible person, but let's go get this dude. Because McGonagall's in danger. And so Yennefer has to still get dressed. She's not fully clothed. So she hangs out in the room while Geralt gets his sword and starts walking it and walks out of the room. He hears people clamoring below, and the garden or central keep or whatever it is. I don't know, castle architecture. And he's creeping around very slowly trying to figure out what's going on. And then the season ends with the guy from Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, holding a dagger to Geralt's throat saying, "You chose the wrong side." Cut to black, roll credits. See you in 2 weeks.
Basically, yeah.
So there you go. Anything you'd like to add to episode 5 that I missed that you think is relevant, that you liked?
Well, I personally loved episode 5, but I tend to like quirky, weird episodes from shows, and this one was arguably kind of quirky and weird. So at first you're like, because I think it starts with actually Geralt and Yennefer together, like in bed after some sexiness happens, and so you're automatically like, wait, did the conclave happen and we missed it? Yeah. But then it starts to flash back and forth between the two, and I think I don't know. I like those kinds of things if it's done properly, and I thought they did a pretty good job of it, in my opinion. I thought it was interesting to see like how they weaved all the stories and how it kind of went back to different scenes to see like which characters were talking at what times and kind of piecing things together. I mean, was the stuff super interesting that they were piecing together? Not really, but I think that's kind of the fault of this season in general and just the storyline. I think it could have been way more like interesting and enticing, and I think that's maybe that would have made this episode 5 more like intriguing to people if the content was actually more interesting of what they were discovering. But I think the writing was weak in that sense, but I liked the directing style and how they did this episode. And I also, you know me, I love a good ball scene. I love a good dancing scene. I like Geralt is me at every single public party I have to go to, every social party. Like, I just want to eat the hors d'oeuvres. I just want to drink the drinks, and I don't want to talk to anybody.
You're forced to dance.
But when I'm forced to, I'm like, okay. And then I miraculously know how to dance, even though I don't know what's going on,
When the fate of the world is at stake, you're willing to participate.
That cliche. All of a sudden, the Witcher can dance, even though he doesn't know what's going on. It's too funny.
Well, and I'm not a dance choreographer, but that dance made no sense to me. Like, people were doing their own thing. There was twirling, then there was like hand holding, and then there was actually like, I don't know what you call it, but like sensual dancing where it's two people actually like locked together. Like, what is this dance? And how do everyone really knows like when to transition? And okay, the northeast corner, you're doing the hand thing, and then the southeast corner, you're going to be dancing paired. I mean, it was weird, I thought.
Well, it's like every dance that you see like that in
they were the dancing
like Bridgerton
queens.
too, although that probably makes a little bit more sense just because of the styles. But yeah, it's one of those confusing dances that you're like, no one would really know how to do this in real life. Like, this is not possible. And it's just even more impossible because it's not like Geralt would have known what the hell he was doing. He would have been like, where do I go? What are we doing? So a little far-fetched, but I still enjoy it.
It's a fantasy show. It's okay.
I love a good dancing ball scene. So
fashion. Did you like the fashion?
I love the fashion. Oh my god, the fashion! I was living for it.
Who wore it best, in your opinion?
I love Philippa's. Yes, because it was a full jumpsuit. I don't know if you saw that glittery, sparkly sequins jumpsuit with actually like a skirt tied around it that made it nice and flowy on the bottom. And I loved her wardrobe in general. So
she had a whole bird on her head.
Because she's the owl from season 2. Hence,
is that her
joke? She was the owl.
I do not remember
season
that.
2, and that's why Geralt made the joke about like catch any mice because
my god,
she can transform into an owl. And that's like a preferred transformation.
I do not remember that at all. For season 2.
Yeah,
but in there, did you hear the reference?
The lilacs and gooseberries. Yeah.
No.
Gooseberries.
No, the unicorn reference.
Oh, was there a unicorn? Wait, where was that?
There was some reference to like, if only there was like a unicorn here or something like that.
You know what? All I could think about that. Yes.
All I could think about was the Conan.
I remember that.
Clueless Gamer.
Now that you say it, I was like, oh yeah, they totally did that. But but at the beginning, before they went into the dance, do you remember Geralt saying, "Oh, you smell it"? Like, I forget what he says exactly, but he says lilacs and gooseberries, which is also
what's that
from
reference
the game.
To?
Game. It's from the game.
Oh,
yeah,
you're right. Yes,
there's a scene
now,
where I forget who in the game he's smelling like a letter that Yennefer had left, and he's like, "Oh, it smells like lilacs and gooseberries." Conan's like, "What the f?"
I remember that now. That you're so right. Okay, this episode's gone up in my estimation now. It has. Those are clever. I like
Easter eggs in there. The little Easter eggs sprinkled in there that I thought was
that's great. I like that. I like that. Okay, I'll give it a little. It's still my least favorite, but I like the concept of it. I like the concept of how they set it up. It just, I don't, for me, it didn't work in practice, in implementation. And I really think it's because I knew what was going on in the sense of like, I had already determined Stregobor is not the villain here for this story. And so much of it revolved around catching Stregobor. And so I was like, just get to it so we can get over this thing. But no, you didn't get that till the very end. The whole thing with the fight between Geralt and the antiques guy. And I thought, okay, this is clearly some ploy. And of course it was. So I'm like, okay, just get to that. Come on. And so a lot of the stuff, it just wasn't captivating because that's
what I'm saying.
We knew where it was going.
Yeah.
And to replay it 3 times or so, just in 3 slightly different ways, I was like, oh my God, we're doing this again.
Very true.
Whereas if there's more intrigue, like well-written intrigue, which I don't think is really well-written political intrigue, I think I would have found it more interesting.
Yeah. Same here. I think I wish the content would have been better in terms of what they were actually trying to politically navigate, if you will.
And if they threw in a monster that Geralt could fight, that would have helped it too, in my estimation. But, okay. 2 questions before we wrap the episode up. 1, what would you rate this first? Actually, 3 questions. Rating for the first season, or the first part of the 3rd season. If you had to give it out of 10.
How are we rating it? Out of 10?
Out of 10.
I'm gonna give it like a 4.
Oh, dang! Whew,
It was okay.
That's gonna be
But the
way
more
lower
we
than
talked
me.
about it, the more it went down.
Except the 5th episode, right? 5th episode, I'm guessing.
Except for the 5th episode. I enjoyed that one a lot.
So
and the creepy creature.
The creepy creatures. I'm going to give it a 6.2, a D minus. Okay. So usually when I do rankings, I try and think of like what letter grade I would give them. It probably comes out of my background as a teacher, and I don't want to fail them yet. They could fail.
Okay.
They could
That's
fail.
Fair.
I kind of look at this as like a midterm. Like, okay, this wasn't great, and there's a lot of bad in my opinion, but there's some bright spots, I think. And hopefully those came across, even though I was being very snarky and sarcastic through most of the reviews, the recaps. But so I think there's some bright spots. So maybe if they can accentuate those, or maybe if they can stick the landing, they can rescue this season. So I won't give them a failing grade. So I'll give them a 6.2.
That's very kind of you.
That leads into the second question. Will you watch part 2? Did these first 5 episodes get you interested enough to finish it out? I think it's only 2 episodes, right?
Yes,
for
I believe
part
2? For 5,
so it's 7.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
So it's not an onerous burden to take on, assuming they're 1 hour a piece again.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch them just to finish the season and finish Henry Cavill's run, basically, and see how they wrap it up with him. Who knows? Normally,
I would just Wikipedia the answer to who is the manipulator and not have to watch this. But for the reasons you mentioned, I'm going to watch it because, one, it's not too onerous. Again, it's only 2 episodes as far as we know, about 1 hour apiece. 2, it is Henry Cavill's last couple episodes, and I want to see how it ends for him. Hopefully on a strong note, and hopefully he does more, because as we kind of talked about at the outset, it feels like he's kind of mailing this performance in for long stretches. And also, I just kind of want to see how the show ends, this arc, where it potentially is going to go. Having said that, I don't know about you. I'll let you answer, but I, at this moment, am not planning to watch Liam Hemsworth's Witcher.
Absolutely not. No. I have no interest whatsoever. This, like, in a way, they could have made this season, at least from a plot line, storyline, Ciri development, even the Emperor from Nilfgaard, they could have made it more exciting for all those other characters, but they didn't. So
have him do something. I don't understand why he's not marching on the north.
The Emperor is not scary whatsoever.
No.
He seems like a teddy bear. He literally took back a general who betrayed him and just had him kill one dude who didn't even seem relevant for anything. And so he's not scary whatsoever. And he's supposed to be like this really evil, crazy emperor dude taking over the world. And it doesn't even seem... Anyways, I could go on about that because that's just...
And they sacked Sintra in the first season.
Right.
So they have the military might. I know that there was some kind of earth breaking and some soldiers died, but I didn't think it wiped out their army. And so and the North is the politics
they ain't got no budget.
Awful. I guess
they
not.
Ain't got no budget for
these people don't have a budget, or can't write politics, or both, because the political dynamics I think are awful in this. But final question before we wrap up: who do you think is the manipulator?
Who do I think is the manipulator? Oh, gosh. I'm trying to think of all the characters, because there's a lot. It's definitely a magician, I think. Definitely a magician. I'm going to go with an off-the-wall person and say it's Professor McGonagall.
That's my guess. That is my guess. And we did not talk about this beforehand.
No, we did not at all.
Spur of the moment.
That's
exactly who I think it is.
Who would be the most heart-wrenching to Yennefer, and who would seem just not the person to do it. And she gives me those vibes.
Well, it makes sense. I think you'd asked, why would she allow Yennefer back? And I implied it too. Well, she knows now she has Ciri, and clearly this person wants Ciri. So that makes sense why she would invite her back. Then she's the one that takes the book. So I think she manipulated everyone into getting the book for Stregobor. Then there's that hard cut after they take him away and she has the book to the toast, and she's leading the toast. And I think all these are illusions foreshadowing that she's going to turn out to be the one that's manipulating everything. And it's got, as you said, it's got to be someone that we've seen and know. Otherwise, it's not going to have any emotional effect. And so I completely agree with you. That's all. I can't believe it. Great minds. So, okay, well, we've been going on and on and on about The Witcher. Ultimately, I never get 6 points. So I liked it. I thought it was good. It's by Snark. We'll watch it. We'll follow up, dear listeners, after the second part comes out. We've watched it and talk about whether or not we thought the last 2 were good and rescued the first 5. But so let's kind of move toward the conclusion of our episode. And let's talk about what we're reading, which means, Deni, how far are you in The Shadow Rising for the Wheel of Time?
I am page 413, if I remember correctly. So I'm slowly getting there. There's 680 pages in the book that I have. So it's getting there. I'm going. I'm telling you, the text is like super tiny in this book. But yeah, so 413, I'm getting there. I'm enjoying it. He Rand's out in the wastelands, and he just experienced Rudian. How do you pronounce that? Rudian. He just went through that, and trying to get the Aiel to be on his side. But so I'm enjoying it so far.
Good stuff.
And I'm really enjoying Matt's storyline. I don't know why, but his is so interesting to me. It's fascinating.
Oh, his is great. Because he goes to Ruidian too.
He met that other race that were like
the Aelfin
demonic.
And
the demonic looking folks versus the snake people. So, and I find that stuff fascinating.
Yeah.
I just think that's so cool and weird.
It'll be
and
interesting
creepy
to see on the show if they get enough time to get there.
I hope they do, because they're so cool. I think that's just so interesting. So I hope so.
Well, they're integral, especially to Matt. Even now and then even going forward. But so they better include them. I actually finished Game of Thrones. I finished A Song of Ice and Fire.
Ooh.
And for listeners
did you like the last book?
I did. I'm actually going to, for our YouTube channel, I'm going to do a video where I rank the 5 books in terms of what I like the best, what worked for me the best. Storm of Swords is not my favorite in the series, actually. I would say I'd actually say Dance of the Dragons is my second favorite in the series.
Okay.
If I had to choose. Because I loved, finally, Dani's storyline I found interesting. Before this, I really didn't find her that captivating or interesting as a character. I think before this, Game of Thrones was the most interesting I found her character. It was in terms of when I say interesting, I also mean like I'm interested in reading the chapter when they show up, which is where I've never felt that with Bran. I despise Bran's character. I find his chapters incredibly boring. So every time I turn the page and it says Bran, I'm just roll my eyes. I'm like, okay, I got to get through this. It's like running a mile in high school. Yeah.
Got to get through this.
Yeah. And that's one of my big knocks on Storm of Swords for me, is so much of it's about Bran. And I just don't care. I just don't care about his storyline.
That's fair.
Maybe it'll get more interesting now that he's with the spoilers with the 3-eyed raven, but whatever. So anyway, if you're interested, dear listeners, look for that on the YouTube channel. I'll give you my rankings of Song of Ice and Fire, but that has opened up time to read other things. So I am actually in the middle of the 3rd secret project novel from Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter this year. And it's a Cosmere novel called Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And I think I'm about a quarter of the way through, maybe a fifth of the way through the book. I hope it picks up, because at the moment it's kind of dragging for me. But
I hate when that happens.
It's Cosmere. I love the Cosmere, so I'm going to read it, going to finish it. And I have the beautiful premium hardcover version of it coming in the mail, and from his company, and they do a beautiful job with their leather-bound editions of his books. So I'm at least excited for the artwork and all that stuff. But enough about that. You can find book reviews for these different things if you're interested on our YouTube channel, where I post those videos. But let's turn to our indie bookstore shout out for this episode. Deni, what you got?
Woohoo! I'm going to shout out the Writer's Block Bookstore. here in Central Florida. There is actually 2 of them. There's one in Winter Garden, which is the one we go to, but there's also one in Winter Park. Yes, there's a lot of winters in Florida, ironically enough. But it's a really cute bookstore. The one we go to in downtown Winter Garden, super cute. Good selection of new books. They don't have used books. It's all new books. But great kids section too, which Lily loves to go to and check out. So we're always there, and they hold all kinds of events. You've been trying to convince me to go to one of their book clubs.
Yeah. To be fair, I haven't gone to either of them yet, so I can't say too much.
But they have book clubs, they have events and stuff. So, but it's a really cute bookstore, and I really love it. And I love the name, Writer's Block. I think that's really clever and great.
Yeah. If you're in the Orlando area, dear listeners, definitely check out downtown Winter Garden. It's a beautiful little Floridian downtown. Yes. And
lots of great
if you
restaurants.
do, check out Writer's Block as well. Yeah. So it's a great location, great spot, great people, great store. With that, Deni, where can they find us if our listeners are interested?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at the Pop Docs Pod, and then you can also find us on Twitter at the Pop Docs.
And we also have the YouTube channel that I alluded to, where I do book reviews, mostly book reviews at this point, but I'm planning to do reviews for shows, certainly for the Wheel Time, because we were both super excited for the Wheel Time. I'm so excited for the Wheel Time. So I'm definitely planning to do some reviews of and recaps of the shows there. So additional content as well outside of our traditional podcast at our YouTube channel. And that's the Pop Docs on YouTube. So hopefully not hard to find for those that would be interested. Any last words? Any last thoughts before we close our clinic for this week, Deni?
Nope. This was a fun one. It was a very critiquing one, but maybe constructively. Yeah. I don't know. Was it constructive? I don't know. But I mean, it was definitely one that was interesting because, we critiqued it fairly intensely, which was nice. But I thought it was good. I
will admit I did not write my notes to be constructive, but hopefully there was some constructive. I don't mind to be mean, but just the thoughts I had as I was walking through. Anyway, neither here nor there. I agree with you. I had a lot of fun talking about this. Can't wait to talk about the latter 2 episodes. And before we sign off, Deni, have fun in San Diego. Enjoy the con, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on the con, your experiences when you get back and we do our con episode.
Absolutely.
With that, thank you everyone for listening. We hope you will join us again, either on our YouTube channel or on our next podcast or on previous podcasts. But for now, the Pop Docs Clinic is officially closed.